A fate you will not share.
Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. We have something really fun for all the Marvel fans out there today. Kraven is one of Spider-Man's most iconic villains from the comics. We've seen him appear over and over in the comics, only to be utterly defeated by our favorite wall crawler. Despite this, he's one of Spidey's most formidable enemies. But Kraven is not the only one from his family who has opposed Spider-Man. There is a whole pack of them who have set out to hunt him. In today's video, we're going to explore the Kravinoff family, so sit back and enjoy as we dive into the entire family tree of Kraven the Hunter. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Sergei Kravinoff, Kraven the Hunter. The first on our list is Sergei Kravinoff, a former Russian aristocrat. He was born and raised in Russia in the 20th century. He was the son of Grand Duke Nikolai Kravinoff and Grand Duchess Anna Makarova. When the Russian Revolution took place, his father decided to use his entire fortune to buy the Kravinoff estate in New York City and move there. So Sergei started growing distant from his homeland. He's a formidable big game hunter, and we all know him better as Kraven the Hunter. Kraven has always wanted to challenge himself, and he does so by constantly looking for new prey to hunt. This is how he comes across Spider-Man. After learning about the wall crawler's existence, Kraven becomes obsessed with taking him down. According to him, Spider-Man is the ultimate prey, and he has dedicated his life to going after him. How exactly did Sergei become Kraven the Hunter? Well, in 1921, he met a woman who had been exiled from Wakanda, Alyosha. The two bonded over the shared experiences they had as exiles from their homeland. Together, the two raise her child, Takar. Aja sees something in Sergei, and they travel back to Africa, where she shares with him what she learned from her Wakandan sisters. It is she who gives him his love of the hunt. She explains that the beasts they hunt are symbols of the inner struggles within their own hearts, and that these creatures are as much his teachers as she is. However, Kraven often ignores these lessons. Aja believes she can pull Sergei back from his darkness through a ritual she once underwent, the Yaznan An ritual, where a person is buried alive for 2 weeks to confront their demons. Kraven, however, emerges after just 4 days. Aja wonders if his demons are too powerful or if Sergei is just too weak to face them. Nevertheless, he comes out in a feral state and becomes what we know now as Kraven the Hunter. The ritual does not quell his darkness. Instead, it makes it worse. His obsession with Spider-Man started then, and he did not see him as human. To him, Spider-Man was the supernatural, the embodiment of all the things that went wrong in his life. Kraven also takes Takar with him, renaming him Gregor Kravinoff. Kraven soon gets a job in Kenya. Here, he discovers that he has an exceptional aptitude. He initially uses a lot of unconventional methods while hunting. Gradually, however, he started having a preference for using his bare hands to battle predators. Kraven uses a serum to gain more strength and agility. It also gives him senses that are similar to that of a jungle predator. With these, he's able to hunt exceptionally well. The serum also gives him an extended lifespan. He has also mastered the use of many weapons because of his hunting experience. The potions given to him by the voodoo priestess Calypso also give him more powers. He now has the speed and strength of a savage beast, who is also experienced with herbs and was able to make a variety of potions with them. Kraven was someone who cared a lot about honor. During Kraven's last hunt, he puts Spider-Man through the ritual that he went through himself. He buries him alive after shooting him with a tranquilizer. He takes on the mantle of Spider-Man and goes around brutally attacking criminals. He captures Vermin and forces Spider-Man to fight him after he escapes. But he saves the wall crawler when Vermin almost kills him. This issue is also when Kraven takes his own life. But this is not the end of Kraven the Hunter. He is resurrected again in the Grim Hunt, and is very angry that he's been taken away from his eternal happiness. What makes him even more angry is that he can now only be killed by Spider-Man himself. But in the end, in Hunted, Kraven manages to get himself killed at the hands of his clone son. Nikolai Kravinoff and Anna Makarova Kravinoff, parents. Now that we've talked so much about Kraven, let us move on to his parents. Nikolai and Anna Makarova Kravinoff. Nikolai was a privileged nobleman from the Russian Empire. His family was one of the most powerful ones in St. Petersburg. Nikolai married Anna Makarova, a woman from another noble family. He was one of Tsar Nicholas II's personal friends, and he was often found in the imperial court. What changed all this was the uprising. Soon the Tsar's reign ended, and the Russian nobility was at the mercy of the peasants. During all this, Nikolai flees Russia with his wife, who is now pregnant with Sergei. The two learn how there is now a new regime in Russia, and nothing is the same anymore. So Nikolai uses all his fortune to escape. He buys the Kravinoff estate in New York properly, and he moves there with his family. Kraven seems to have mixed emotions about his father. At first, he refers to him as a pompous fool, a man who was too attached to the past. But then he also refers to him as a god, as the last remnant of a world of culture and decency. In Kraven's last hunt, Kraven reveals the fate of his mother. He says that people said she was insane. He calls her a woman of rare breeding, a woman of true nobility and a bleeding heart. He once again talks of how they were driven out by the Trotskys and the Lenins from Russia. According to him, moving to America is what made her become like this. He believes that she was overwhelmed by the poverty and the mundane life here. In the end, she was locked up like an animal. His father longed for his homeland, but he did nothing to stop this. His spirit was also equally broken. Kraven reveals that his mother committed suicide, but it seems like he's refusing to acknowledge it. He always keeps saying that they thought his mother was insane. It doesn't seem like he agrees. According to him, his mother's life was stolen from her, and he says it was stolen by the Spider. Now, what exactly does he mean here? He is not referring to Spider-Man, that much is clear. He himself clarifies this while saying that he understands that Spider-Man is just a man. But according to him, there's something within our wall crawler that is great and awful. He calls it the essence that brought Russia to ruin. This demon of his, the fear he has of spiders, which comes from the spider-infested asylum his mother was in, is interesting in that he associates it with not just the death of his own mother, but also the death of Russia itself. At the end of Kraven's last hunt, he talks about how he has never found peace or happiness in America and has only felt suffocated. But he says he can feel a happy ending now because he believes that he has achieved superiority over Spider-Man. And so, just like his mother, Kraven too kills himself. It's interesting how the three Kravinoffs never found peace in the country they moved to. His parents longed for the homeland they left behind, while Kraven felt out of place in his new life, yearning for a homeland he had never known. Dmitri Smerdyakov, chameleon, paternal half-brother. Dmitri Nikolai Smerdyakov is Kraven's half-brother. He was the son of Nikolai Kravinoff and one of his servants, Sonia Smerdyakova. Nikolai hated Dmitri. He hated the very sight of his face. Dmitri's mother was also humiliated by him. Sergei was the only one from his family who tolerated him, but Sergei too was not all that nice. He used to abuse and bully Dmitri all through their childhood. Dmitri both admired and hated Sergei. As a child, he had a talent for impersonating people, and he used it to amuse Sergei. A man named Gustav Fiers was impressed by Dmitri's ability to disguise himself. The man took him to his brother Karl, known as the Finisher. The Finisher took him under his wing, and he helped him hone his abilities. He was part of an academy that trained children to become sleeper agents and impersonators. Dmitri was the most prized pupil there, and soon he became known as the Chameleon. Dmitri relied on the skills he had learned here and a mix of makeup and costumes to keep his identity a secret. He always had a multi-pocket vest on him, and used it to keep everything he would need to mask himself in this vest. He also had a device in his belt buckle that would emit a gas that would help him mold his features into who he wanted to impersonate. Later on, he got his hands on a microcomputer for his belt buckle, which had a video receiver that was used to duplicate the features of people he encountered. His costume had something called memory material, and this he could alter using electric impulses from his belt to change it into the clothes of those he impersonates. This also helped him blend into the background and create holograms near him. His character was first introduced in The Amazing Spider-Man #1. He's the first ever villain that Spider-Man faced. Right after Spider-Man's first public debut, he impersonates a government scientist, Professor Newton. Chameleon figures out that Spider-Man is in need of of money after he learns of his visit to the Fantastic Four. He believes that the superhero, who is still wanted by the authorities, wanted to be a part of the team so he could have a steady income. He impersonates the professor to steal some missile defense plans, and he sends Spider-Man a message requesting a meeting and implies that there is a profitable venture involved. Right after this, he disguises himself as Spider-Man and steals the rest of these plans. He escapes the scene just as Spider-Man arrives. The wall crawler is then framed for theft, but he manages to get Chameleon to the police station. The man disguises himself as a police officer and starts getting the others to attack him. However, his identity is revealed when Spider-Man tears his uniform, and the cops see Spider-Man's suit under it. The Chameleon is then deported back to Russia. He enlists his half-brother, who at the time was starting to get bored with big game hunting, to hunt Spider-Man. He is the one who sets Kraven on the path to hunt the wall crawler, giving him a new purpose in life. Chameleon has tormented Spider-Man a lot, but the worst thing has to be when he joins hands with the Green Goblin, who convinces him to mess with Peter Parker's head to learn Spider-Man's identity. The Chameleon creates two robots that look like Peter's dead parents, and when he discovers that the two are just robots, he goes crazy with rage. Now that he's facing a more vicious Spider-Man, the repressed memories of his unhappy childhood with Kraven emerge, and he goes into a catatonic state, repeating the words, "I am nothing." He has also tried to impersonate Spider-Man and rape Mary Jane and also kill Aunt May, but has never succeeded in his attempts. The abuse he encountered certainly took a toll on his mental state. That, combined with his years of impersonating other people, made him into an empty shell, unable to recollect who he actually was sometimes. After Kraven's death, he took on his identity and fully believed that he was Kraven. Recently, the character was seen as a member of Norman Osborn's new team, the Sinister 12. Alexandra Sasha Kravinoff, wife. Alexandra Kravinoff, more commonly known as Sasha, came from a wealthy Russian family. She was the daughter of Grand Duke Mikhail and Princess Alexandra of Montenegro. She met Kraven at a social gathering where he was bragging about all his conquests as a hunter. She's unimpressed and believes that he's lying about all of it. She throws her drink on his face and storms off from there. Kraven catches up to her and convinces her that he is not lying. He tells her he found himself on the hunt. Sasha is charmed by him, and she apologizes. The two eventually get together. In fact, Kraven is the one who gives her the nickname Sasha. She first appears in The Amazing Spider-Man number 567. Sasha has an elderly father to care for. He's also disabled. Soon, she pushes him down an elevator shaft and kills him. She also covers up the crime very easily. After his death, she is no longer bound by her obligations, and she gets married to Sergei Kravinoff. After Kraven's last hunt, Sasha blames Spider-Man for his death and teams up with her family to resurrect Kraven. They do so by hunting down others from the Spider family, including Madam Web and the third Spider-Woman, Maddie Franklin. Sasha tortures and uses Madam Web to use her powers to get information on Spider-Man. She sets up a series of unrelated events, mostly him facing old enemies, to test and drain his powers. Sasha also sacrifices Maddie Franklin to bring back her son Vladimir. This is what she does on a trial run for the resurrection of her husband, and the ritual goes wrong as she emerges as a creature that is half lion and half man. After this, she comes to the conclusion that they need Spider-Man to make sure that the ritual is completed properly. So the family plans to kill Spider-Man and bring Kraven back, but his clone Kane takes his place and is killed instead. Because of this change, Kraven becomes basically immortal. The only one who can take him down is Spider-Man. Sasha also ends up being the one who kills Madam Web by shooting her. By the time Spider-Man gets to her, it's already too late. As revenge for Madam Web, Maddie Franklin, and Kane's death, Spider-Man tears Sasha's face apart, leaving behind a handprint. He also almost kills Kraven, but is stopped by Arachne. The Kravinoff family goes to the Savage Land after these events, where Kraven trained years before to be a hunter. He believes his family should go through the same. However, Sasha is furious at him for letting them get defeated by Spider-Man. She does not want to be in the Savage Land. Kraven responds to this by breaking her neck off very abruptly, which instantly kills her. Her last appearance is in The Amazing Spider-Man number 637. In the end, Sasha Kravinoff's life ends at the hands of the very person she spent all her time resurrecting. Vladimir Kravinoff, Grim Hunter, son. Now that we've looked into the stories of his parents and wife, let us delve into the story of Kraven the Hunter's son, Vladimir Kravinoff. Vlad was raised in Russia, and he grew up in a life of luxury, but he was often neglected by his father, who was more focused on his various exploits. Vlad was raised by one of Sergei's servants, Gregor, who was trained by Kraven. Gregor is the one who trains Vlad, teaching him all of his father's hunting technique. He was also told the tales of the Grim Hunter, who was feared by all the greatest hunters and warriors. When Vlad was still a young boy, Kraven decided to test his skills. He disguised himself as the legendary Grim Hunter and started hunting him. Kraven was impressed by what he saw, and soon he started training Vlad himself. Vlad was first introduced in Spider-Man number 47. Like all the members of the Kravinoff family, Vlad too blamed Spider-Man for his father's death. He wanted revenge. Soon, he came across Jason Massendale when he visited him at the Kravinoff estate in Russia. Massendale offered him Kraven's journals in exchange for Kraven's powers. He used this journal to perfect an elixir that augmented his physiology. It gave him great powers, and he started calling himself the legendary Grim Hunter. Vlad read all about his father's fights against Spider-Man in his journal. He memorized all the details regarding the Wallcrawler's moves. He went to America to get revenge and found Spider-Man in the pursuit of two muggers. After killing them, he starts attacking Spider-Man and almost wins. But in the end, he gets defeated and thrown in jail along with Gregor, who had tried to help him with his mission. The Grim Hunter eventually manages to bribe his way out of jail. When he tracks Spider-Man again, the trail leads him to Ben Reilly, Peter Parker's clone. Ben manages to escape, but Vlad continues to hunt him. He soon finds him engaged in a battle against Kane. He believes that Kane is interfering with his destiny, so he starts attacking him. Kane ends up branding the Grim Hunter with the mark of Kane. This ends up killing him. His body is found by Wolverine and Black Cat, which turns out to be a life model decoy. In the process of resurrecting Kraven, Sasha Kravinoff captures the third Spider-Woman, Maddie Franklin, and uses her to resurrect Vlad. But the ritual does not bring him back as he was. Instead, he's brought back as a large, lion-like humanoid creature. He helps the rest of his family hunt the others from the Spider family to bring back Kraven. When Kraven finally comes back, he is shocked to see what his son has become. When the family goes back to the Savage Land to train, Kraven finds it really hard to look at his son. In the end, Kraven ends up killing his son right before he kills Sasha. Alexei Alyosha Kravinoff, son. Alexei Alyosha Kravinoff is the son that Kraven has after his affair with a mutant woman. Unlike his half-brother Vlad, Alyosha was raised in the heart of Africa, away from his family, because his father was ashamed of his own transgressions. He first appears in the Spectacular Spider-Man number 243. Alyosha goes to New York to learn more about his father after Kraven's suicide. Kraven only visited him on occasion, and so he barely knew anything about his father. He meets his uncle Dmitri in New York, dressed up as Kraven. The chameleon believes that his brother has come back from death, and he tells him all about the Kravinoff family. After this, Alyosha ends up shooting him. He also takes up the name of Kraven the Hunter. Alyosha has a lot of superhuman attributes. Like his father, he is also a mutant. He must look a lot like Kraven, because even Calypso believes that he is Kraven when she first meets him. The two even sleep together before he reveals that he is actually the son and not the father. Alyosha attacks Spider-Man to know what it's like to fight in his father's shoes. He poisons him with a hallucinogenic dart, but he sets him free. Instead, he learns more about his father from him. Calypso soon makes the two fight against each other using her powers to control their minds. Spider-Man and Alyosha free themselves from her control, and Alyosha almost kills her, but he stops instead. Despite this, at the end of the issue, we see that he has killed not only Calypso, but all of Kraven's tribesmen too. Alyosha tries to be a noble and heroic person, and he works for money as a bounty hunter and a mercenary. He was once contacted by the Fantastic Four to help capture their enormous puppy. He was also hired by the White Wolf to capture the Black Panther, and he went through a battle that almost led to his death. The Sandman also asked him to be a part of the Sinister Six. When Venom started hunting the members of the team because he was not included, Alyosha did not want to be someone who was hunted, so he traps Venom with fire, but Venom ends up escaping after seriously injuring him. Alyosha then takes up a more chilled-out personality, becoming Al. He starts dating a woman named Timber, who is an aspiring actress. He wants to help her out by becoming a director, but he's forced out of Hollywood by the Rothstein brothers, who rape Timber and beat him up. The two seek revenge and then leave for New York. Alyosha soon starts experimenting with his father's serum to enhance his natural powers. This makes him mentally unstable. He also ends up starting a zoo which has many animal-themed superhumans that he kidnaps. The Punisher ends up freeing all his prisoners, and Alyosha flees to the Savage Land. He comes back to New York with the rest of the Kravinoff family to resurrect Kraven and abandons them when Kraven kills Sasha and Vlad. Anastasia Kravinoff, daughter. Anastasia Kravinoff is Sergei and Sasha Kravinoff's teenage daughter. She first appears in The Amazing Spider-Man number 565. After she comes of age, Anna starts tracking her father's enemy, Spider-Man. She trails him for weeks and tracks him to the apartment that he shares with Vin Gonzalez. Vin is a police officer and Peter Parker's roommate. Anna, who is 12 years old at the time, believes that he is Spider-Man. She wipes out his bank account and also frames him for murder. This gets him suspended from the NYPD. She also kidnaps him, makes him wear the Spider-Man costume that she finds in their apartment, and brings him to Vermin's lair. She injects him with a mutant growth hormone, MGH, which helps him escape. Spider-Man borrows Daredevil's costume to search for Vin. He comes across a drug dealer who reveals that he sold MGH to a young girl who claimed to have Spider-Man. He eventually finds them and fights her in his Daredevil costume, and he ends up rescuing Vin. Vermin comes back to attack Anna, but she defeated him and brings him home to her mother as a trophy. She joins her mother to bring back her father. Madam Web sees a vision of her hunting spiders. Soon, she is captured by Anna and her mother. She attacks Kane alone with Alyosha, but he escapes and warns Spider-Man. Spider-Man also sees Anna and Alyosha attacking Arachne. She plays a huge role in bringing Kraven back to life. When Kraven comes back, he's very unstable and angry to have been disturbed. Anna is the one who calls out to him and realizes he is unhappy with them. She understands that they have disappointed him by bringing him back. He attacks her in a fit of rage, and he finds out that he cannot die. When the family escapes to the Savage Land, Anna wants to prove herself to her father. She wants him to train her in exchange for bringing him Alyosha. While training her, Kraven reminds Anna that the spiders are their enemies, and he wants her to take down Spider-Girl. She tracks her throughout the city, but is very sloppy about it. Spider-Girl realizes she is after her, so she sets up a trap to get her on a rooftop. The two fight, and Anna ends up losing. Anna also helps her father to try and fight Kane, because Kane is the only one who can kill. Kane makes his heart stop, but he revives him again, hoping that it is enough death to sever their connection. Anna soon discovers that she might have inhuman genes, as her mother's sisters go through a transformation when a storm of Terrigen mists hits and brings out their latent genes. When she tells this to her father, he almost kills her. Anna initially tries to find ways to stop her transformation, but eventually ends up embracing her nature. Ned Tanengarden, son. The next on our list is the third son of Kraven the Hunter, Dmitri Tanengarden. He makes his first appearance in Spider-Man Get Kraven number 2. We're first introduced to him when he's trying to scare off an actor to stop drinking. Soon, Alyosha Kravinoff arrives to meet him, and Ned tells him he's a huge fan. Al reveals that he is there to collect a debt that he owes Kraven and that he wants to produce a movie. When he tries to ask what favor Kraven did for him, he does not want to reveal that, claiming that it would make Al vomit. He hopes that Kraven has taken this secret to his grave. Ned sets Alyosha up with a mansion, and everything seems fine in the beginning. He even tries to give Al a name, trying out Cravey and Ally. When Al is trying to make a movie, his uncle Dmitri shows up, still believing that he is Kraven and not the chameleon. The Rothstein brothers also show up and attack Al at his mansion, but he defeats them. Soon, it's revealed that Ned is working with them to take down Kraven. Their plan is to bankrupt Al. Ned also tells the Rothstein brothers that he wants Al dead and buried along with his father. The two then rape his girlfriend, Timber, and kill his dog. Al is enraged and he goes to hunt them down. He then interrogates people with Spider-Man to find out who did this to them. It is here he gets to know that Ned is involved. When he says he thought Ned was his father's friend, he also gets to know that he is his half-brother. Al finds Ned with his uncle, who is once again pretending pretending to be Kraven, and Ned, who goes along with this facade. He throws a little shade on his family and proclaims that he does not have a single relative who is not totally insane. Ned reveals that he was left out, that he was not trained by Kraven, and he was not included in the will. He's very angry that he had to live with his mother, who is a penniless beggar, and that Kraven left her without looking back. The two get into a fight, and Al ends up killing him. Gog, adoptive son. Gog was a Scylan who was given to a Hazily prince as a pet. Although he was native to the planet Broi, he was born in the realm of Hyslip. When a civil war took place in Hazily, the local population was evacuated. Gog ends up being separated from his prince, and he is exiled from his planet. But the ship that carried him ended up crash landing on Earth into the Savage Land. Kraven the Hunter ends up discovering this crash site, and he is the one who names him after the giant from the Bible. Kraven ends up raising Gog as his own. Gog makes his first appearance in the Spider-Man comics in The Amazing Spider-Man number 103. Gog doubled in size daily, and he was Kraven's adopted son. Kraven also uses him to build a kingdom in the Savage Land. Gog catches J.J. James's attention when there is news of a giant attacking scientists in Savage Land. He now wants to go check the monster out himself and do a whole series on the Savage Land. Peter, Gwen, and others from the Daily Bugle go with him. Gog ends up kidnapping Gwen and smacking down Peter. He takes her back to Kraven, who wants to make her his queen. Spider-Man defeats Gog with the help of Kazar. By the end of that fight, it seems as though Gog fell into quicksand and died, but he is rescued by the Plunderer, who is Kazar's brother. He then uses Gog and commits various crimes till Gog gets bored and leaves him. Gog was also forced to join the Sinister Six's third incarnation by Dr. Octopus. He is shrunken down using Pym particles by Reed Richards, and they send him back to Hyslip. But now that he's no longer what he once was, he is an outcast there, and he flees to Earth 177. Here, his mind is controlled by the Sinister Six and Dr. Octopus from there. The Web Warriors end up freeing him and restoring his form before they send him back to Hyslip. Here, Gog witnesses the end of the Civil War. He's reunited with his prince before the boy dies. The Queen of the Realm discovers a lifeline tablet, and she shatters it into pieces, making Gog return them to Earth and keep one piece himself so he can guard it from falling into the wrong hands. Sons of Kraven, clones. We're introduced to the Sons of Kraven, that is, Kraven the Hunter's clones, in The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 5, number 16. These were 87 clones that were made from Kraven's genetic material. They were created by the High Evolutionary after Kraven makes a deal with them. So the deal is basically this. Kraven starts killing off all humanoid animals after he moves to the woodlands. To make him stop, the geneticist offers to do anything Kraven wants, so Kraven asks him to make clones for him. Kraven is not satisfied that he only has his daughter Anna to carry on his legacy. This is why he makes these clones. These clones were all designed in a very particular way. All of them were made to reach adulthood at a very accelerated rate. They were all trained by Kraven the Hunter himself in the Savage Land. After going through their training successfully, Kraven sends all of his sons out into the world so they could establish themselves as great hunters and make themselves worthy of the Kravinoff name. This makes Anna leave her father. Last son of Kraven, clone son. The last son of Kraven is one of the 87 clones of Kraven. He's first introduced with the rest of them in The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 5, number 16. He's sent along with the others to become great hunters and make a name for themselves. What he does instead is deem all his brothers as weak and unworthy. He goes around killing all of them, and he's the only one who returns to Kraven, with the skulls of the rest of them. Kraven, of course, is incredibly proud of his son's actions. He sees his son's ruthlessness as something to be proud of, and he names him his heir. He sends his last son after Spider-Man. This is a part of his elaborate ploy to get Spider-Man to kill him and break his immortality curse. A part of his plan included capturing animal-themed supervillains and letting high rollers hunt them as sport. The last son did not want to go along with this, and he wanted to hunt the prey himself. He thinks that his father is just a pathetic shadow of who he once was, and he joins the hunt and defeats the lizard. After these events, he comes across Spider-Man in Kraven's manor. He brutally beats him up and strangles him to death. When he takes off the mask, he realized that it is Kraven who he has killed. He discovers a letter left behind by Kraven at his funeral. In that, he sees that Kraven has left him his legacy, not just as his son, but also his legacy as Kraven the Hunter. The last son wanted a new challenge and a worthy opponent, so he goes to Staten Island, which was recently transformed into Monsterland. Here, he kills around 11 monsters. He encounters Deadpool here, who has recently been crowned as the king of the monsters, and tries to defend his people. Kraven does not succeed, but he vows that he will one day kill the unkillable man. Xraven, clone. Kraven the Hunter is hired by Mr. Sinister to collect the DNA samples of the original 5 X-Men mutants. During this, the X-Men, along with Spider-Man, thwart his attempts, and they believe that they have succeeded in doing so. After Kraven's death, Spider-Man looks through his files to see if they have left any clues about his identity, but what he finds instead is a transaction between Mr. Sinister and Kraven. Spider-Man, along with later incarnations of the X-Men, manages to defeat the clones that he made. They believe that after this, Mr. Sinister does not have any more genetic samples of them, but it's later revealed that he does when he encounters Carnage and gets his genetic samples too. Xraven was created with the DNA of the X-Men, Kraven, and Carnage. Mr. Sinister wakes Xraven up after M-Day. He wanted the samples of every remaining mutant, and he sent Xraven to get them. He starts off by attacking low-level mutants. When the X-Men are informed, they check with Spider-Man first to make sure Kraven has not returned from the grave. Spider-Man concludes that he must have a clone. Xraven attacks the X-Men in the dark, and he clearly has an upper hand. He has the powers of the X-Men. He uses Jean Grey's powers to block their senses. When Spider-Man asks him if he is a clone, he denies it and names himself Xraven. Spider-Man tries to remind him of his honor, and he tries to get him to see how Kraven the Hunter would never be someone else's slave, but it does not work. Cyclops then uses his powers and establishes a link between them to make him see his memories of Mr. Sinister. This seems to work. Kraven takes off with the samples and goes to Mr. Sinister, but he ends up destroying them while telling him that he would only breed slaves and that he is not a slave. Sinister and Xraven go on to fight each other, but Xraven's fate remains unclear. Marvelous verdict. Well, with that, guys, we've come to the end of yet another marvelous video. In today's video, we've looked at the entirety of Kraven's family and their backstories. Kraven the Hunter is surely a really interesting antagonist, and it's strange how his entire family blames Spider-Man and is willing to go against him even though Kraven killed himself. Which of these characters did you like the most? What about them did you find interesting? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel on your way out. Thank you for watching.